To wrap up today's session, let's talk about sleep. Good sleep, along with physical activity and attending to your personal nutritional needs, is the foundation of basic physical and mental health. Without this foundation, you may find you're more vulnerable to anxiety symptoms. Lots of important things happen in your brain and body while you're asleep. The research shows that while you sleep, your brain is hard at work forming the pathways necessary for learning and consolidating the information you've taken in that day. Sleep deprivation will impact your mood, energy, memory, grades, and ability to focus and concentrate in class and on homework. Research shows that you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night to be well rested and to perform optimally. As we all may know, in college it's common for people to stay up late, pull all-nighters, catch up on sleep later, and take naps. This might sound familiar to many of us. However, anything less than 7 to 8 hours a night consistently will impact your functioning, period. For example, perhaps you've pulled an all-nighter, didn't do so great on the test the next day, and were wondering why. Lack of sleep may have contributed. In addition to difficulty concentrating, chronic sleep debt can lead to physical health problems. So sleep is important. Got it. How do you improve sleep then? Let's take a look at these sleep hygiene tips. I want to highlight the tip regarding an electronics curfew. Your sleep schedule is tied to light. That's why we get sleepy when it gets dark. When we use backlit electronic devices such as TVs, computers, tablets, and phones, two things happen. First of all, the sleep-promoting neurons in the brain are stopped by the artificial light. And second, the nightly release of melatonin, which is the hormone that encourages sleep, is also inhibited. So instead, the light from the electronic device activates neurons that make people more alert. Therefore, it's harder to fall asleep. Sleep experts suggest an electronics curfew, which means refraining from using electronics 60 minutes before going to sleep. Please pick one thing from this list that you're going to do for the next week. You can go ahead and mark it. In summary, today was about slowing down and disentangling the anxiety process. Today, in part 2, we talked about the difference between stress and anxiety. We learned that anxiety can be motivational, and we discussed the anxiety avoidance roller coaster and the value of exposure. In part 3, we talked about the fight, flight, and freeze response, as well as our physical reactions to anxiety. In part 4, we discussed the CBT model for understanding how anxiety works, and we learned how to complete a cross-sectional formulation for disentangling the anxiety experience. Please remember that completing the cross-sectional formulation in and of itself is an important tool for managing anxiety. Using this tool will help you to understand your experience. In part 5, we practiced deep breathing as one tool for managing our anxiety, and in part 6, we discussed the importance of good sleep hygiene. In the next session, we're going to talk more about the CBT model. In particular, we'll focus on identifying and managing anxious thoughts. Your homework between now and the next session is to complete one cross-sectional formulation. This is an opportunity to practice exposure. If you feel up to it, choose an activity that you typically avoid, Otherwise, use a situation you experience over the next week or something that happens to you often. Try to complete this as soon as possible after the event. If you're unable to do so, jot down some notes on your phone to review later to prompt yourself to remember what happened. Feel free to do more than one over the next week, but try to do at least one a day. That might sound a little overwhelming, but the more you practice, the better you'll be at using your tools. Also, remember to incorporate your sleep tip and practice deep breathing in your daily life. The deep breathing practice is helpful not only when you're feeling anxious, but also when you're calm to help maintain your clear mind. See you in the next session.